Hey there, friends! For the purposes of this video, I will be focusing on issues surrounding gender. As a trans person, I feel like this is the only way I can really go into depth and explain my own perspective on how this has impacted me, and others like me. Having said that, I think it'd be a waste of space on this platform if I didn't point out how these issues are also, as always, linked to societal issues, like in how we view ethnicity, disability, class, colonialism, and so on. I'm talking about every facet of art, but this video has been spurred by my struggle to understand how to create quote-unquote real body art that I want to put out into the world. This has been purely from my experience of creating art on social media. Beauty standards are enforced upon art in a purely aesthetic way. By this I mean, art isn't necessarily quote-unquote free to be whatever the artist wants it to be. Whether the artist intends to create something that accords to beauty standards or not, the art will always be seen and analysed with the gaze of contemporary beauty standards. And for those of us who know how beauty standards are BS, we are left with the task of deconstructing how we can use art to garner awareness and for society through the exposure therapy of real bodies. So, as a basic outline for this video, I'd like to split it up into these parts. Firstly, what the Western beauty standards are, and secondly, what we see in Western social media. Thirdly, artists who purposefully create quote-unquote ugly art. And fourthly, why this whole thing is stupid and it doesn't help anyone. And lastly, a shoddy conclusion that provides no closure. Thank you. So, first of all, I would like to state what the default Western quote-unquote beautiful body is. It's a white person with perfectly symmetrical features and who is relatively to incredibly thin or muscular, no blemishes or visible disabilities. We can definitely see moderate differences in the definition of beauty depending on where we look. For example, comparing makeup and fast fashion influencers such as Kylie Jenner to high fashion or high art runway models like Leon Dame. Neither of these people diverge from the default Western beauty standard we have set out. Of course, this isn't true for every influencer or celebrity or whatever out there, but wherever this is predominant, it is an issue. Because whoever diverges from this norm is placed into a position of danger. Whether that danger be receiving death threats, being underpaid, emotional exploitation, or all of these things, they are in danger. And even in this sense, all of us who deviate from beauty standards and patriarchal power are in danger of being abused by those who do not fall into these same standards. For example, beauty standards affect how a jury and wider society see a defendant. If they are seen as quote-unquote beautiful, society both actively focuses on this beauty, which may obscure how we see a defendant, and can lead to under or over punishment for the defendant. This can be easily seen in cases like Ted Bundy. It is also another example of how the white patriarchy can affect people's lives. We can see the same beauty standard applied across a seemingly infinite number of art accounts on social media. If you're looking for anime, it's sexualized women, and there are like 3 body types: curvy, muscular, or thin. And if you're looking at graphic novels, gods be damned, is curvy, sexualized women or buff as all hell men. Wait, you want a character who isn't white? I hope you enjoy stereotypes. What do you mean dark elves are a racist concept? Or you might hear, why would I want to draw a character in a wheelchair? Only if it's a cute girl who will always be the damsel in distress. The other is constantly depicted as the alien, or a quote-unquote special being with superpowers. Like how autism is always portrayed alongside intelligence, or how disability must always be countered by supernatural ability. I know I've probably missed out a lot of that first bit, but I hope to keep the analysis going as we move on. So, secondly, I've already spoken a bit about what we see on social media, but I haven't gone into detail about why this is such a huge issue, or for why it could be caused. I doubt it comes to anyone's surprise when I say that we live in a capitalist world. But this causes endless problems when we live our daily lives. Artists are often forced to cater to an audience in order to live. To live, we need to eat, which means we need food and shelter, which is paid for by the money that we make. This isn't in and of itself a justification for the lack of inclusive art, but it could be a decent point of analysis. If the people who have all the money are cis-white, heteronormative, neurotypical, non-disabled people, then they will commission and buy art that they believe is beautiful. There is also an issue with how we can learn art. If all the artists of the past were of the white monolith, we are left to be students of their work. And therefore, those of us who wish to diverge from the norm end up having to work so and so times harder than artists are already forced to work under. I could probably word this in a simpler way, but deconstructing the society that we have lived under for so long is hard. Also, I believe subjects like these do not deserve to be simplified. When the people who are able to learn to create art diverge from the white cishet patriarchy, then the idea of beauty in art will change. When these people who create art are able to create what they wish, they will have more of a chance to create some truly unique and influential pieces. All we need to do is take away the monetary issues that surround this creation of new things and ideas. And we also need to topple the white cishet patriarchy. Examples of art that diverge from the norm can be found without too much hardship. There are genuinely good digital or graphic artists such as Liberal Jane, traditional artists such as Ginny Savile, and the corporate art style that is coming into fashion, which is utilised by a lot of artists and corporations to portray moments of happy inclusion. But here we might find a major issue. That art which does not conform must always be some form of statement, and never just beautiful. Liberal Jane is an activist or artist that creates these awesome pictures of people in awesome outfits with awesome slogans. They recently got involved with a charity pro-life thing. I'll post that link in the description with their socials. On the other hand, Ginny Savile, who my friend recommended to me for this video, is a very different artist. I'll show you some of their less naked art, but if you want to go check them out, trigger warning for people who might struggle around issues of weight, eating, nakedness in general, and possibly depicted violence. I think these two artists showcase just how polarizing the rejection of beauty standards can be. Liberal Jane produces art that can be shared far and wide, which is intended to comfort people or provoke internet trolls. Ginny Savile produces art that provokes the viewer into thought. Their art purposefully shows a viewer the realistic human body, and whatever emotion is provoked inside the viewer is exactly the emotion that will signify just how used to beauty standards they are. It highlights whatever privilege the viewer might have. Where Liberal Jane's illustrations are provocations of arguments with bigots, Ginny Savile's pieces are provocations of the self, and of self-analysis. This leads me on to the last issue I believe we are now stuck with, which is that the abnormal, quote-unquote, art we produce now, and always will be, is a statement. With quote-unquote normal art, it is merely in and of itself beautiful, and is always to be beautiful in the forced eye of the beholder. With quote-unquote abnormal art, it is in and of itself a statement, and perhaps beautiful in the eye of the beholder, if they have cause to relate to it, and if they don't, then they must be insane. Whatever our intentions are as artists, if we create something that is not socially appropriate, we are doomed to be psychoanalyzed relentlessly by critic after critic. Even in the future, if our art is lucky enough to survive, we will be analysed with the gaze of, quote, this was not normal at the time, therefore the artist must have meant this or that, end quote. If I painted my body in its entirety, a critic would see nothing but a body that doesn't match its head. Because I'm a trans person, my very body is ugly in the eye of beauty, because my head and my body don't go together. For others, it's extensions of their bodies, of how our white-centric, ableist, patriarchal society has given stereotypes to people other than the norm. And these stereotypes are doomed to forever be attached to us, whether in contemporary society or in history. Even now, as we look back at the ancient icons of Hermaphrodite, critics and historians see them as more than mere appreciations of the human body. I wonder if we will ever be able to get rid of the labels and stereotypes that we have been forced under. Or is it that we will learn to live with them, to acknowledge them as part of history, and move ever forward with the goal of forgetting even the purpose of labels? I hope that it's the latter. Even though we might never be able to fully rid ourselves of the past, or of the things our families, ancestors, and people like us have endured, that does not mean that we cannot be happy, that we cannot force our world to change, to accept new standards of beauty, and to accept the art we make of our own beautiful bodies. That is my conclusion. Thank you very much for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comments if any of this stuck out to you, or if you think I said something inappropriate. I hope you look after yourself. I hope you have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.